Farm to Frozen: Navigating the U.S. Cold Storage Climate is a series focused on the U.S. cold storage climate, the need for infrastructure development, and how food and beverage manufacturers and processors can leverage the best option for their business. I'm Kelly Rodriguez, editor-in-chief of Refrigerated and Frozen Foods, and I'm chatting with Marty Kate, principal at Yukon Real Estate Partners and author of the Farm to Frozen series. Marty, thank you for joining me today.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, I first want to start off. It's been about a year. It's been a little over a year since you first proposed writing this series for RNFF, and I am curious about how it has affected the way that you have approached the cold storage industry over the last year, and if there's anything that you have learned along the way that surprised even you.
Yeah. Well, Yukon, my firm, we position ourselves as a solution provider that can be kind of a jack of all trades in the sense that we can buy buildings and we develop buildings ground up. And, we really pride ourselves on first optimizing for the right solution for our clients. And then, we expect positive results, financial and otherwise, to follow. But in writing about all of these different solutions, these real estate solutions, it was a ton of ground to cover. It took us a year or so, really.
Right.
And I don't think I even scratched the surface. So, as I wrote these articles, I kept this avatar in mind of a supply chain manager at, a name brand food manufacturer. And I was just doing my best to, at least give this person, this avatar, an overview or a starting point. But honestly, there's just so much to know and to learn about, and you can make a whole career out of even just one of these strategies. So I feel for the supply chain guys, the corporate real estate guys who are tasked with navigating all of these. I would definitely advise them to seek a thought partner, broker, developer like us, people like that, just to, like I said, help them sort through all these different options.
It sounds like you could have a side hustle as the Marty Kate School of Cold Storage Real Estate, perhaps, or
Well, we're going to put a paywall on these articles and yeah.
So speaking of the articles, there have been about a dozen. If you could pick just a handful, a few of them as the most important or the most impactful, I'm curious which you would choose and why.
Yeah. I'll start with the one that was the most fun for me to write. And that was the one about economic incentives. That's the one that I actually had to do the most research myself, and the one that wasn't just sort of pouring out of me as I sat down to write it. And it's really eye-opening to me, at least, how many different programs there are to take advantage of, at least in America, for food and agriculture manufacturers and producers. But outside of that, the one that I thought was the most important one, is the one I wanted to call the Holy Grail, but it was that last one about the RFP process. I think for these manufacturers, getting a developer, again, like Yukon, to help you facilitate an RFP process for a greenfield development it's a no-lose strategy for the manufacturers. It's so one-sidedly positive for the manufacturers. It's really just, in my mind, it's a crime that more groups aren't doing it.
So, what has the response been from the industry? I will tell you that it is interesting. The economic incentive article has been among the most popular of the series. The series itself has been always is among some of the most widely read, shared, commented on content on rffmag.com. But that article in particular, it did seem to cause quite a stir. I'm curious, what has the response been from your industry peers over the last year as you've added author to your resume?
Well, that's good to know. I think half those clicks are probably from me going back to reference the research that I did. But I think the one that I get asked the most about is really it surprised me. It's the how to find a 3PL. And I think that was strange to me. I thought when I wrote it, it wasn't really gonna hit well. I was just kind of covering my bases. If I was going to talk about how to find cold storage, I got to talk about 3PLs. And but it seemed like it's the one that people kind of talk to me the most about. And the people that ask me about it, there seems to be sort of two camps. One was where somebody is in a market with almost no vacancy,
Mhm.
and they're really just trying to find some corner of a PRW somewhere to put their products in. And then the other camp was a customer that was in a little bit of a softer market that had a lot of vacancy, and they needed help um, picking the
Right.
right in how to go about selecting the right operator for that relationship. So yeah, in either case, I always advise them to use a broker service like findcoldstorage.com to they can help you navigate both scenarios.
Right. Right. Do you think that that you said that that surprised you? You thought that was going to be more of a boilerplate, if you were a starting point article. Does that, does that sort of tell you that maybe there is a a vacuum in the industry right now? Maybe there is a need for more education around just some of what you would consider more of the just the basic principles, like you said.
A little bit, I do. Yeah, I think that the supply chain managers that are making these decisions, I don't know where they hang out with each other. I would love to figure that out and be in that room for obvious reasons, but um, it doesn't seem to me like there's a tremendous culture of kind of information sharing. Um, so yeah, I do think that there's a good bit of information out there that, and again, we were trying to do this with the article series where, to give these professionals, an outline of different concepts and ideas that they can pursue in their companies.
Right. Well, aside from finding out where the supply chain people hang out, I also would like to know, uh, aside from that, where do you see the US cold storage market going over the next 18 to 24 months? We were just chatting, off camera about the the really shattering, record number of developments that are still continuing to be announced or have ground broken on them here in just the first and second quarter of 2024. Where do you think come 2026, where do you think the market is going to be?
Well, the biggest news cycle is going to be Lineage's IPO. I think that's going to happen imminently. And that's going to have ripple effects. They're going to have quarterly pressures on them that, if I had to guess, was going to result in higher rates charged to the customers. And I think not just to mirror them, but I think other operators, for other reasons, are going to also uh, be raising rates. I think they're going to be raising rates. I think it's inevitable, even with the new added capacity. I do. So, I mean, on the M&A side with PRWs, I think that's probably going to slow down a bit. Most of the easy to buy companies have already been kind of picked off.
Mhm.
So I think that's going to slow down a little bit. And then, like you said, on the real estate, it seems like despite cost and interest rates, et cetera, there's still a steady stream of projects being delivered.
Mhm.
So, if you're asking towards the end of 2024, if that's going to slow down maybe a bit, but there's still a lot in the pipeline that has actually already broken ground. So I think it's going to be a really good time to be an operator. I think they're going to be in a lucky position where they'll be able to expand into new locations if they think that makes sense for them. There's going to be a lot of options.
Well, is there anything else that I did not ask you?
I don't know if you didn't ask me anything, but yeah, I really do just want to say I appreciate the readers for checking out the articles. I enjoyed writing them, and thank you to Refrigerated Frozen Foods for giving me the opportunity to try to give back to the food manufacturers with this series.
Absolutely. Well, Marty, thank you as always for joining me. And for more on the Farm to Frozen series and all things cold chain, visit rffmag.com.